Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. As many of you have followed our program over the last 9 years, we try to bring some of the best and brightest people from around the globe to help sort of give us a little bit of guidance when our compass goes off and we can't seem to find our way. Frustration, depression, things just not going the way we would like them to go. You know, and you have those kind of moments from time to time where things just don't work out the way you thought they would. Well, joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today is someone who is considered a global leader in consciousness. And believe me, this day and age, with a lot of conversations I've had with people, we can certainly use a lot more of that and a little less of the unconscious. She is the creator of Adventures in Oneness, which is a small, nice little international speaking company where she shines her light everywhere. She has helped people from around the world. She's also been appeared on television and radio shows internationally, and she's been online and in print. She's also the author of 21 Secrets of the Universe Tools for Getting Everything You Desire Out of Life. And I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today somebody who's going to shine her light to help ours become a little bit brighter, Ms. Rika Zimmerman. Rika, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program.
Hello, Daniel. I am so excited to be here. And hello, everybody out there all over the world. How incredibly, perfect that we are together today and that you are led to this interview on this day and this moment.
It's nice when we all kind of bring our torches together into the darkness and realize, here's the light that's always been within us. Tell us how this started for you.
That's a really good
question. Were you
question.
kind of in a cave, everybody kind of left you behind, it was dark, couldn't read the writing on the wall to find out the exit way and all that, or what happened there?
Well, what I, sort of, in my world, it's like I've been searching and looking and trying to find and trying to figure out and, trying to undo where I felt wrong and where I was trying to be right and where I was affected by judgment. And, I've been doing this consciousness journey for about 8.5 years. And, when I started out this whole process, I was just really like everybody else. I was a musician. I was playing music as a hobby, but I didn't want to be judged, so I would get up on the microphone and say things like, okay, whatever you do, don't judge me because it's just a hobby. So hopefully you receive something,
Right.
So I was really functioning from, where the rest of the world functions from. I was trying to have a perfect life. And, I received a house and, had a great boyfriend and had a business and was playing music and everything was supposed to be perfect. And it just felt dead energetically. So I'm like, what? I thought I created the target was perfection, but that didn't really open up the energy that I knew was possible for me. Mm-hmm. So throughout this process of, unraveling all of the fixed information and stuck energy, it's like, since then I've signed a record deal. I travel all over the world. I get to just be myself on television and radio and, ask people questions to lead them home to themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's really been an incredible journey for me.
Now, Rika, as you've been out there, again, around the world you've influenced and helped people. We're talking thousands of people. It could be approaching millions after something like this today. But mm-hmm. The fact is, it's interesting when we're kids. Let's just say that we're in a normal, loving family. And, when we're out playing with our friends, we kind of want things to work out. We don't really think too much. We just think this is what we want. We go after it. And it's just really that simple. But as we get older, that seems to fade away, and pretty soon we get to a point, and I think a lot of us get this way, especially as you approach, midlife, to the point where you start questioning a lot of choices that you're making and you become unsure of yourself, for a fair amount of us anyway. What do you think probably causes that for a lot of people, in your experience?
Well, oh, my sweet, beautiful friends, it's kind of like we've been trying to make this reality and, the judgments and getting what we want enough for us. Except, have each of you found out that say you wanted a car and you thought, well, once I get this new car, then everything will finally work out and this energy will open up and then I'll finally allow myself just to be happy. Except you got the car, and within 5 or 6 days, you still felt like the same person once again. So what if no element of reality or getting what you want is actually going to give you you? And what if you are something that is so much greater than all of reality that if you allowed yourself to have it and receive it, then energetically you'd be having what you know is possible for you on this planet? Because how many of you know that something else is possible for you?
Mm-hmm.
And know that you were meant for a bigger and greater life, a bigger receiving of you. You know, and it's not just having to do with money or success or fame or a big house or a boyfriend. It's really you having yourself, you know, infinitely loving you, being present with you, being present in the moment and receiving something that's greater than anything you ever thought was possible.
Mm-hmm. I think what happens, and it's just something I've kind of reflected on, is that, you know, as children, we think, we have the idea, we kind of put it in motion, we go after it. We don't think much about it. And I think probably as we get older, perhaps we just don't allow too much anymore. It sounded like what you were saying earlier is maybe we tend to force things or get in our own way. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. I always say that there's
hey,
only
you
one
tripped
person.
and you fell, but it was you that you tripped and fell over.
Exactly, Daniel.
Who put that body there in the first place? What are you doing down there, Daniel? Get back up and do it.
I always say that there's only one person that's powerful enough to stop you, and only one person that's powerful enough to set you free, and that's actually you. So what if this whole journey of your life was really about you receiving you? You allowing yourself to have infinite energy running through your body.
Mm-hmm.
You allowing yourself to have a life that you love to live, where you wake up in the morning and go, oh my, how did I get so lucky to be alive today? Now, I know that this is something that we speak about and we talk about and people intellectualize about. Yet, what would it take to actually bring this into being in your life? You know, the inspiration, the excitement for living, the joy for living. Because doesn't it seem like enjoying your life should be something that's inherently a part of all of us? And
right.
That every moment was just there for us to receive it fully and totally. So if that's not occurring in your world, then what if we could begin shifting and changing some of those, you know, heavier stuck vibrations so that you can actually receive you, which is what you actually came here to receive in the first place.
Now, how did you get to a point that you're a leader in global consciousness? Was that a title somebody gave you, or how did that all come about?
Yeah, that's a title that many people have given me, actually.
Ah.
Yeah, and, you know, it's like for me, it's like my job is basically to ask each of you questions that lead you back to you, that get you wondering and inquiring and beginning to energetically open up. And then we can also basically shift and change any of the stuck information that might be keeping you from receiving a greater experience of you.
Now, what is that like for people when they come and they say, you know, Rick, I found out about you, and, you know, my life kind of feels like it's in tangles and knots, and just, you know, I can't figure it out. So how does that process work?
That's a really good question. Well, there are many ways in which we've been trained by reality. And I like to call this reality bad training. It's the insane asylum that everyone's committed to and nobody knows it.
Mm-hmm.
So people are basically using tools that don't actually work to expand their energy or to expand their life. You know, one of those things that we're trained to do is to go into judgment of ourselves and of others. So, you know, through this process, it's like, what if we could actually bring up those old judgments? Now, if you were the one that put those judgments in place, are you also the only one that can unravel all those judgments so that you no longer have to function from that limitation any longer?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It sounded like you were on a roll, so I was kind of letting you go there.
Awesome, Daniel. So let's just kind of, bring up some of that vibrational density of judgment that maybe you guys may feel like you have stuck in your system. Is it okay if we clear some energy here on the show, Daniel?
Absolutely, please.
Okay, awesome. So how many of you feel like you're not good enough? How many lifetimes have you felt not good enough? How many of you feel undeserving and that you're unlovable or that there's something wrong or bad about you? So would you each be willing to connect to all of that energy and just kind of bring all that judgment up in your universe? There you go. Awesome. And would you be willing to move all that stuck energy? So one of the ways we can do that is kind of like expand out into the universe. So expand out as big as the room you're in, and now the city block, and the city, the state. Now expand out as big as the country, and just get really, really big into that infinite you that you are, way up into the sky, deep down in the earth, and universes and beyond. And what if we could move all this infinite energy through all that stuck information to basically wash the density out of our bodies and out of our lives? So just kind of imagine that energy running through your system as you let go of anything that feels heavy. There you go, and just let go. Remember, this is all about you shifting your experience with you. So your willingness to say yes energetically, your willingness to go, all right, universe, come on in. Let's get rid of this stuff. I'm all done with not good enough and not enough and undeserving. Let's do this thing. It's like the more vibrationally and energetically you're open to receive, the bigger shift that you'll actually create and have for you. So are you guys willing to actually have a big shift, not just a small one? Why not, right?
Sometimes
Awesome.
you would get the feeling people just don't know if they give a shift. I was just thinking as you were talking about all that, Rika, is that I was thinking of cause and effect. And we're in a day and age where a lot of people, you seem to hear the belief mantra and flags being waved around. Oh, your circumstances and your experiences, they're all about your beliefs, what you believe in. Now, what do you have to say in relation to cause and effect? Is it true that pretty much a lot of, if not all, of our outside experiences, the things that happen in our world, are a result from what we have within us? Yes. But somehow using God, and I like to use it just because that name is just simple to say, says, okay, well, if that's what your inner world, what your kingdom is putting out there, so to speak, then here you go. And then people just sort of say, well, I didn't ask for that. I wasn't wishing for that. And so they go after these courses that teach about, for instance, the law of attraction, which has been around for centuries, actually. Yeah. And they say, but it isn't working for me. Well, what did you wish for? And they said, well, I want to be wealthy so all my bills are paid. Okay, well, that's great. Well, let's take a look at this for a minute. Let's shift the mirror and just see what your inner thought process is on something like this. When somebody sends you a bill, what are your first thoughts, especially if you're behind by a month or two? Think about that for a moment. Now, is that kind of how you help people see this judgment that you're talking about, this cause for the effect that they're getting?
Well, when you look at cause and effect, is cause and effect actually real, or does it make you feel kind of heavy? Now, one of the things to begin potentially looking at is, what if the things that are actually true for you as a being make you feel as light and as big as the universe? And the things that aren't quite on for you feel a little twisted or heavy. So when you feel into cause and effect, meaning, this cause happens in my world and now I'm affected in this way, does that really feel like your only choice? Does it make you feel as light and as big as the universe, or kind of twisted and contracted?
Good way to put it.
So are you getting twisted and contracted too, Daniel?
No, I'm actually listening to you, man. Your lights hit me pretty good.
Cool, awesome. So with that, what if we could actually, with your belief system, if you believe cause and effect is real, then you are affected by whatever you have, believe is going to affect you. And you may also be keeping yourself from choice because you don't want to create effects in other people's worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So would you be willing to kind of bring up all of the information of everywhere you've been functioning from cause and effect? Just bring up all that vibrational information. And let's do another way of moving this energy. And I like to call it Spider-Man or something like that.
Okay.
It's like connecting with all of that fixed energy, so all that fixed heavy vibration of everywhere you're affected, everywhere you don't know you have choice. And would you now knock it out of existence? Kind of grab it with your hands in 1, 2, and 3. Get that energy moving again. All right. Oof. Now, the thing is, too, is, we've been trained by reality to create these fixed positions, these beliefs and these judgments. And, so we have ideas like, I'm not good enough or I'm not enough. Well, if you create that fixed position, you experience your life through it, right? And then you eliminate receiving, because if somebody came into your world and said, I love you totally, I adore you, I want to spend every moment with you, you might make them go away because they're weird, they're a liar, and they love you more than you do.
What are you saying to me? I don't deserve this.
Exactly, exactly. And when I look at those that stuck information, for me, I see these positive and negative charges. Now, if you have a positive and negative charge magnet, and then next to it you have another positive or negative charge magnet, what happens when two magnets get in the same space?
They'll either repel or they'll attract.
Yeah. So what if every positive or negative charge creates your system as charged, which has you either resisting people or going straight towards them? And what if that's what creates the cause and effect universe? So if you didn't have any charges in your system, what if that allowed you to have infinite choice instead of just doing reaction, or I'm going with this, the alignment piece?
Mm-hmm.
That brought up a lot of energy. So how about we kind of just move some of the charges that are creating all the effects in your system on 3, 1, 2, and 3. Kind of open up the energy so that it's no longer fixed in your body or fixed in your system. It's now flowing infinitely. There you go. Now, the other interesting thing about all of those charges, it's almost like we've been collecting them for lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I've got my suitcase here and my baggage here and my other suitcase here and my baggage here. And then somebody comes along and pushes your button, that suitcase, and then it spills out all over the place, and then you think you're a mess, and oh my God, you're going through it again, and Now, what if it's like all of that past emotional content is basically waiting to be harmonized by all of oneness? It's sort of like this stuck energy, this fixed energy, and it's suspended in that belief system or in that thought pattern. So what if you could actually let go of all those belief systems and thought patterns and return your system to being totally harmonized with all of oneness? Does that sound yummy, or does that sound yummy?
Sounds exciting. We certainly have a lot of excitement from listeners out there. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, exactly. Because the thing is, if you allowed your life If you allowed yourself to let go of all those charges and harmonize your field totally, you'd have infinite choice. Now, if you allowed yourself to have choice, and infinite choice, and choose from an infinite menu, how would you create your life just for the joy and the decadence of choosing whatever it is you'd like to choose? And how beautiful and magnificent does that sound?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And all of those fixed positions become a place where we cannot choose something. Because if you're not good enough or you're unlovable and somebody comes into your world and loves you, you start rejecting them.
It's just such a fascinating thing to think that, a lot of times people probably have enough judgment that when they feel they've made mistakes, that they're perpetually, continually sort of beating up on themselves. And from what I'm hearing from you, Rika, is the whole idea is to bring that experience out because it is part of you, love it and forgive it, feel its energy, kind of let it go, so you can sort of clear out the closet, if you will. Is that pretty much what you're talking about?
Yes, clearing out your energetic closet to where it's a clean blank slate energetically. And from that space, you can choose anything, have anything, create anything. There's nothing you cannot be because you are everything.
Now, infinite energy, we can all have this, and this is a process that you've helped people to achieve. Yeah. What have you seen as far as changes in people when they come to you and say, 6 months, a year later, 6 months, later, a year later? What does that look like?
Oh my goodness. Okay, this is really quite fun. Well, we sort of began speaking of, you being this infinite energy with infinite choice and infinite possibility, and basically you being the universe called you. It's like you are all of this and even more than that. So with that, it's like, what if you could actually embody that much energy? Now, the places in which we don't allow ourselves to embody that much energy are everywhere. We're holding on to those judgments to create ourselves as being enclosed in these little vibrational boxes instead of allowing all of our energy to flow. So, that's the sort of beginning of the basis of unlocking all of these vibrational boxes. Now, the other thing that we've found, which is really quite interesting, is how many of you on a daily basis feel like you kind of got hit by a Mack truck? Like you just are so tired you can't even, it's like, God, what happened? I'm exhausted. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there that go through that quite a bit. Now, this is a really interesting awareness that'll begin shifting everything for you. So what if when you're feeling like you got hit by a truck, you were just being a superhero and you weren't allowing yourself to know it? Now, that's really interesting, isn't it? Because if you look at the energy of tired, does it feel like you're not willing to be present with what is? So what just occurred that you're not willing to be present with? So it's like if you begin asking the question when you feel like, oh my God, I just got hit by a Mack truck, you could ask, hey, if I was a superhero, what just happened? Or what talents and abilities do I have here that I'm not acknowledging? And you might, and then the other process is start to acknowledge it. So say you just went and got some coffee from a lady and had a nice conversation and then left and you felt hit by a truck. Just stop for a moment and say, hey, if I was a superhero, what just happened? What talents and abilities do I have I'm not acknowledging? And you might go, did I just heal her body? And you're like, wow, actually that makes so right. Yeah, I did. Cool. Did I just change your future? Whoa, actually I did. Wow. And you'll find that every time you acknowledge you, your energy will get lighter and lighter and more expansive until you return to total presence. So when you be this amazing being and you change the entire world and you don't acknowledge it, guess who feels totally tired and totally not present?
It wouldn't be you, I can tell. Now, Ricka, we do have some guests who are actually beginning to each at some questions here, so I want to be sure that I honor what they want to ask you. And, phone lines are open. Just be sure to type into me, folks, if you decide that you want to call in, which we more than happily bring you on the program, is, give us an idea of the nature of what your question is, and we'll be more than happy to give you an opportunity to ask the question. Anyway, so one that's been on here for a bit is somebody who has been wondering about the infinite energy, if we can apply this in the case of a medical diagnosis of adrenal fatigue. And that kind of seems like a pretty easy one to answer, because adrenal fatigue, comes from being in a perpetual state of anxiety. But I'm not a doctor. What are your thoughts on this about infinite energy and being able to perhaps help with something like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the thing is, first caveat is I'm not a doctor and it's not a diagnosis.
No, of course not.
Yet we have seen huge amounts of change in basically every area of somebody's life. So, fatigue, weight loss, depression, like things that are diagnosable disappear. So, my friend, the other piece is if you're in a constant state of anxiety. Now, you may feel like anxiety is really bad and really terrible and really awful, and you want to resist it. Except if you are infinite energy, why would you resist an energy you already are?
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Wow, that's cool, because that usually takes people a second to get.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. So the first piece is undoing where you're resisting the energy, right? And, one of the things I've found with anxiety or fear is if you act, this might sound like really counterintuitive, but just play with it, maybe while you're home and relaxed and, it's a good time for it. But what I've done, too, is I'll intensify the energy of fear or anxiety and intensify it 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 and get really, really big and intensify it, and all of a sudden it starts turning into orgasm. It's like when you're in resistance of anxiety because you've made it greater than you, it runs your life. Mm-hmm. When you allow yourself to have the energy of anxiety and you have no definition or judgment that it's bad and wrong or that you need to avoid it, what will occur is that energy will begin flowing through you, and it will basically do what it came here to do in your system. So if you don't resist it and intensify it, it takes away that position of where you've made it greater than you to where you can just be with it and expand out and even intensify it, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm not dying here. I'm fine. Everything's cool. And as soon as you start knowing that it doesn't have to affect you, it'll start dissipating the fixation of it and just become more energy.
Ah, okay, so that actually answers another e-chat question that I have here. It is, where does the negative charge go once we free it?
Beautiful question. Well, what's interesting is if you had no judgment, would a negative charge even exist? So what if all that we're doing is undoing the illusion of the negative charges? So energy, basically, in a world of no judgment, is just energy. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on what your illusionary world around judgment is to the experience that you would have with the release of judgment. If you have no judgment of judgment, there's no experience in regards to someone else letting go of a charge. It's like, oh, okay.
Rick, I really have to touch on that because, for a lot of years, you sort of hear what you're talking about and you think you understand it, but the truth is when you really get it, it's much different. And it totally really is. And I want to say this to the listeners out there who are listening here to the Beyond 50 radio program. We have had, a lot of top-shelf experts in transformation on our program over the 9 years, including yourself. And believe me, someone who sits on the other end, as a show host and gets the opportunity to get an hour with very powerful people who have moved into a place such as you have, when you finally understand what you have just said, when you really get it, it really is amazing. And there was a guest that we had about 2 weeks ago, and in her book, I really loved what she said because for the first time, I felt like I get it. I not only understand this, but I'm really beginning to live this a lot more, and that is this. She says, first of all, there is the perception of an experience that you have, and that is your experience. Then you begin to shift, and then your perception of perhaps the same experience changes. Mm-hmm. Then pretty soon you come to a place where the perception is no longer there, it is just the experience itself, and it's good either way. So you can clearly see what you're talking about, and I'll tell you, folks, it is amazing because it only becomes negative energy, just as you said, Ricka, based on the fact that from somewhere inside of you, from an experience, you've attached a label to say, I don't like that. Nobody likes a broken arm. It certainly happens, okay? But if anybody remembers the story, for instance, of Seabiscuit, here was a jockey and a horse that suffered calamitous acts and rose to the top and found adversity to be that perpetuating force that made them a comet. So you sort of take adversity and you start looking forward to it. Now, I hate to say this, folks, but the more you look forward to adversity, it seems strange enough, but the less and less you have of it in your life. And that one I still can't figure out, but I'm not going to argue with it.
Well, the thing is, if you ended the resistance to any energy, all energy would flow through you. Mm-hmm. So then at that point, yeah, your perspective of that experience has changed, and now you're just in the experience of the flowing energy instead of the projected experience of the negative experience of it. Mm-hmm. So how cool is that?
It doesn't get any better than that, folks, I'm telling you. Now, your website, Ricka, first we'll put that out there so people can find out, where they can go. I believe it's Ricka Zimmerman, all one word, .com?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And if you missed that, we've got Beyond 50 blog spots. You can certainly go there, beyond50radio.com. That is the number 50. We do have a free weekly e-newsletter where we put people like you on there so you can find out more about that. But back to what we're talking about. So, if everything is created, you hear about love as the universal law, so to speak, then even the things that we don't like so much that come into our lives, if we just learn to love those, then there really is no negative energy, so to speak. And it must be hard for people to, sort of grapple with that because, people do just have really rough circumstances that occur. And I'm sure you've encountered that through your work over the years.
Yeah, and, what if we could actually undo and unravel all of the fixed positions that were created during the experiences to where any experience from the past didn't have to have any imprint on your system at all.
Okay.
And what's interesting, too, is we've had people who, they had a blood doctor or whatever who studied their, system in blood work, and they did a bunch of classes, and they went back to the blood doctor, and they were like, your memories, emotional memories, have disappeared from your cells. Mm-hmm. So what if it's a process of letting go of everything that you're holding on to about your experience, about your judgments, about your past, and with all the energy that comes up, it's more like, cool, you know what, I'm going to embrace this energy from a space of being and allow it to flow once again.
I like that.
Yeah. So one great question that you can use with any energy when you sort of feel like, I don't know what to do with this. Hey, what energy can I beat with this that would allow this energy to move through my system? And to, basically melt those fixed walls and the fixed energy, the charges or the polarity, and just allow it to flow once more. So that's a great question you can use in any experience.
Now, I do have a guest that's been patiently sitting here waiting. He's dialed in, or she. We're not really sure. We just see guest 15. You're on a Beyond 50 radio program. Did you have a comment or a question for Ricka? You're on the air. Well, apparently we just had heavy breathing, so maybe they're just kind of passing on the positive energy to us. Here is another question that was given out by another guest, is how they can apply this infinite energy to hormone balance or imbalance, if you will, to menopause.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've actually had people undo some of that too. It's kind of wild. But it's like, our nobody could run a 4-minute mile until one person did, and as people began breaking down that world, then more people began having it. So, I see the same trend in bodies. It's like whatever's going on with bodies, as we move more into this miraculous and the miracle, allowing the body to shift and change things, it begins opening up doors for everyone. So as far as beginning to move or change this energy, first you have to be willing to let go of the whole thing around menopause and growing old and what it means to be a woman and, all of that. So would you be willing to let go of all that? You might have to say yes for her.
Well, here's something I'd like to actually present to our listeners out here. Some time ago, we had a guest on our program, and he was a former lie detection expert for the FBI. And what we were talking about is the power of how your mind, especially the subconscious, works. And so he went to do great study in this area about how your mind receives and uses information. And he says, you can sit in front of him based on, as he's studied how the mind works, that as you talk to him, there's what you believe you're saying consciously, but on a subconscious level, he could actually tell what you really mean. It's almost like he would become psychic just based on what was called subliminal communication. Now, based on this question that we had about menopause, and this is just something I want the listeners to know about, and one of the things you can find out on the Beyond 50 blog spot, is when you take a look at advertising, and you take a look at a lot of things, and again, like I said, we've had a lot of wonderful experts and top-notch people here on the program, is this really opened up a whole new avenue I would have never considered as far as study and pursuit. And it led me to a book. It was called The Secret Sales Pitch, and where a person was showing magazine and television ads and showing you how the use in the advertising industry of subliminals was used to influence how we act, react, and how we buy. Now, as you said, Rika, that, this idea of menopause, that we're growing old, aches and pains, eventually we're going to need somebody to take care of us, is really a belief that's been set up since the industrial age. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. And so has the term retirement. This is what we're just expected to do by a particular age, which gives us the subliminal message over years to say, by the time you're 65, go sit in a chair, do whatever you're going to do, you're no longer useful. And, of course, anybody who starts to go into a place, a retirement center, for instance, finds themselves sitting there useless. It's only a short matter of time, pretty consistently, before people die. Now, that being said, the fact is, start observing, for instance, why you feel this ideal of hormone balancing or unbalancing, where you got this information in the first place, and do you believe it? And it sounds to me like that's a lot of what we're talking about here today.
Yeah, and when all the concepts that you just brought up with the retirement and the growing old and the becoming disabled, how heavy does all that feel? So, the first step with the hormone balancing would you be willing to let go of all of those fixed positions? The next step would you be willing to open up your vibration to receive from the universe called you whatever vibration that would harmonize that in your system? And that's, it's like almost an opening in your body, an opening in your system, and allowing that energy to come in and dissolve, there you go, any of the charges, and just let it go. And then what other energy could you be that would allow it to release from your body? And what other energy could you be? And what other energy could you be? And what other energy could you be? And keep bringing that energy through. There you go. Let go of everything that is. There you go. Cool. So you want to, potentially keep using that. It's funny because, they talk about love being the, answer to all things or whatever. And it's sort of like, for me, love is infinite energy. so it's everything that is. If you have a different definition of love, that might not be working so well for you. Because you're like, oh, my mom judged me, and, that means that she loves me. So then you end up judging yourself to prove that you love yourself. Doesn't work very well.
And I've got this question here that I find is almost a simple one. It's, how do you deal with the fear of being judged? And, to me it seems simple enough to think, well, if somebody's judging you, the fact is that's something they judge about themselves. They just transfer it on to you, and so you're the reason that, they feel the way that they do. Does that kind of make sense to you?
Yeah, and let's kind of open up another awareness around this, which will be really fun. It's like oneness is actually happening, right? So we're all completely and totally interconnected. So the only way that someone can create this idea or this experience of being separate is by judging you. Now, what if they're actually judging you to create a wall so that they don't receive the energy that you're being that's outside of the box?
Mm-hmm.
So what if you've actually only been judged for the greatness that you've been being and where you've been outside of other people's boxes? What if every judgment was actually a compliment? Oh, that brings up an energy. Let's move that energy. So all of the energy of the resistance of judgment, would you be willing to pull it all into your awareness? And all the story around all that, and all the past lifetimes around all that? And can we just grab it like Spider-Man and move it on 3? 1, 2, and 3. Cool. Now, the other thing, too, is, I always say you can live in heaven and never judge yourself, or you can live in hell and judge yourself. Same planet, 2 totally different experiences.
No.
So, what if it was actually time to just let go? Let go of everything you think is wrong about you and even everything you think is right about you, so that you can experience all the energy that's beyond those walls of reality. Now, if the energy of fear comes up, what's really kind of interesting about fear is if you look at the energy of fear and excitement, how close are those energies? They're kind of close. Isn't it weird? But it's like if you were going to go on Oprah or Ellen or something like that, and you were going to, show up and, people were going to buy products and, they might buy millions of dollars worth of stuff and all of this quote-unquote fear comes up. Are you really in fear, or are you actually excited about the possibility of what's coming into being for you? So it's kind of interesting, right? So, and the other piece, too, is like if you are infinite energy, how could you have fear about an energy you already are?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you just experiencing more energy from the audience, from the crowd, from the cameras, from, and it's increasing your vibrational rubber band. It's expanding your vibrational receiving as you show up for millions of people. Now, that can feel like fear. Yet, would you be willing to go anyway? Might as well, right? Why stop yourself based on fear? So let's go ahead and connect to all the possibilities that you've been eliminating based on this whole thing of fear being real and fear being greater than you. Okay, and would you now be willing to actually knock that out of existence on 3? 1, 2, and 3. Let it go. The other thing is I've done a lot of vibrational expanding over, this past 8.5 years. One of the tools that I used, because facilitating consciousness, it's a big world. Like energetically, your body's vibrating, you're becoming all these energies, you're moving all these energies, and there's a lot going on. So it can feel like fear. What I did, too, is if you ever get in this position, you can also use this one. I would be like, universe, you really think this is going to stop me? Right. You know what? You better make this a godzillion times even bigger to stop me. I'm going anyway. And I would basically walk into the energy of what was perceived as fear, expand out, and just go bring it on even more intense. Go for it, even more intense. Go for it, even more intense. Because guess what? I am not invested in the outcome. I don't need to be anything. I'm in, just total space with everything that could show up. If I fall on my face, fantastic. If I cry on stage on TV, oh well. And in that, it took away all the resistance to where I could begin embodying the choice and just choose to show up any way that I was choosing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does.
Cool. Awesome. That's awesome.
I know, because we do. I was going to say that we also have a question on, it says, how to have money in this economy. And I guess the better question would be, how can I have a good enough relationship, say, with money to have more of it? I'd say stop watching the news and reading the newspapers and magazines all telling you just how bad things are, because as I brought up one time, I said, we're seeing all this news, and sure, things aren't easy for a lot of people out there. There's no doubt about that. But I've also stepped out in my neighborhood and I've looked around me, and I've seen people doing pretty well. I also know people who own businesses and companies, or at least presidents and vice presidents of companies. And this actually were questions that I was asking right around 2008, 2009, 2010. And I said, with everything we're hearing now in the news, with this economy that's on the brink of collapse and that we're in the greatest recession since the Great Depression, how has your business been? And this is what I hear almost resoundingly, at least from the people that I've asked, and these were just random people that I've encountered. They said, our business is doing fantastic. So it just really depends on how you want to really perceive your experience with this. So back to the question on how to have money in this economy, etc., how would you address something like that?
Well, you're right on with basically not buying into, what they project onto you about what you should have as your beliefs about this economy and how bad money is and how hard it is. Now, if you look at the consciousness of the universe, do you get that it's ever expanding?
Not only that, but it's infinite. There's plenty.
Yeah.
Planets, solar systems, there's enough abundance for everything.
Yeah. So
you don't even have to go that far. You can look in your yard and watch trees grow, and go, wow, there's plenty.
Exactly. So if everything's constantly expanding, the universe is constantly expanding, energy is constantly expanding, everything about everything is constantly expanding. So if you look at your energetic relationship with money, when money comes into your world, do you have the energy of expansion, or do you have the energy of, can't receive this, not good enough, don't want to take this, don't want to be selfish, don't want to take too much? Now, if you're doing that kind of contraction around money, and the universe, all it cares about is energy, so it's like, would it bring more money into your world if it's going to induce a contraction?
Okay.
Or would it try to avoid paying you because it doesn't want to create that contraction?
Mm-hmm.
So your relationship with money, it's like if you look at it in a vibrational way, would you be willing to let go of all the stuck vibration, all the judgments, everywhere you've made money significant and meaningful, everywhere it's been a problem and a wrongness and a badness, all the suppressed anger? Would you be willing to move all that energy so that you can embody a relationship with money that's expansive and joyful and light? I think that's a yes, so let's move it. 1, 2, grab it and move it. 3. Just move that energy. And one of the questions that can really bring up your relationship with money is, if money were your lover, would you still be having sex? Or would money be going like, I am so not showing up for you, you've made me a problem, you've told me to go away, you've had fear about me, you worry about me on a constant basis. When I come in, you resent me, so you're like, get in the house, if you really look at your relationship with money, it really shows a lot about, the universe even being able to provide for you, because it doesn't want to create that contraction. So what if you began actually choosing to shift your vibrational receiving around money? So if money comes into your world, even if you go to the bathroom and take a moment, and open up and imagine that the sun is shining down on you, and actually create an expansive experience while you receive it. And if you do that with every interaction with money, you'll start changing your vibrational patterning around money to actually expand your world, to bring you more joy, And there's also, what I love about the Adventure in Oneness work is it's not only about you embodying infinite energy, having infinite choice and infinite possibility. We'd also, we're here to give you tools to where you can create your real life to actually resonate with your being. To where if you're choosing to have, 100,000, $1 million, or whatever amount of money you'd like to have, great. Okay, let's actually create it and have it, and not just have it be a fantasy or a dream or an idea that never.
Or a windfall, like winning the lottery or something. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. Now, even with the down economy too, it's like I think our business has grown 10 times, and it's like I'm in the top 2 percentile of women in business with money. So it's sort of wild.
Well, and again, Rekha, that's exactly the point I'm making, because sure, at the moment this person may be struggling, and as a result of this struggle, they will find outside things that prove that they should be struggling, and it puts you into a perpetual state, I would think, of sort of doing the same things that may have put you there in the first place. Yeah. And what you're talking about is you shift your habits and the way you think about the whole thing, and you say, okay, how can I think and be differently? Will it happen right away and overnight? Probably not, But the fact is, you start setting in motion. It's like throwing the pebble into a pond. You're sending out the ripple effect that will create the changes that pretty soon you'll meet up with what it is that you would like to see. And
yes, absolutely.
Okay. I'm really learning from you here on a quick, steep acceleration curve. So.
And the other thing is, what if it was even beyond thinking and creating the belief? Because it's like one of the things we've been talking about and facilitating is having a life that's beyond belief. So it's like if you feel like you don't deserve, how many of you have tried to create the idea of I deserve on top of I don't deserve? And does that actually allow you to let go of the vibration, or is that just more of the same thing that keeps you stuck? So what if you could actually let go of both sides of the belief system to where you knew that you were infinite choice and infinite possibility and allowed yourself to have a completely different experience? And because the thing is, the cognitive mind is a very funny place. It tells you everything that it's like, if it says, I deserve money, what it's energetically saying is I have the vibration, or you believe in the vibration of I don't deserve. Mm-hmm. So the cognitive mind can't really talk you out of this. It's like it has to be vibrational for where your being is opening up to a new possibility. And you know it and be it, and you never think about it.
And just to touch back on what I was talking about earlier about subliminal ideals, is your subliminal or subconscious mind takes all orders. It doesn't discriminate, and that's how God works, if you want to put it that way, too. Yeah. Now, the funny thing is you can find out what lies underneath by simply, for instance, if I stood in front of you like this person who says they have this fear of being judged, and I say to you, I think you're probably an excellent communicator. The subconscious mind behind them quietly says, yeah, excellent at communicating what?
Yeah.
And that got there. You put that there, or you allowed that. It slipped by the gate, and there it is. But that's kind of one way, and it leads to another question that says, how can I activate the feeling of being light or heavy when I ask myself questions? They feel no signal. Is there a way to unlock this, or do you unlock this, or how do you feel this?
Now, are you talking about, because the thing is, with light and heavy, it's something you notice. It's not actually something you create.
Okay.
So if you look at creating light or heavy, now, and light or heavy is great, and it's a little lame at the same time, because it's like when you start moving into having no judgment, it just feels like different energy, but those are kind of the best words I can put to it at this time. If you're still believing in judgment, you might experience that when you get out of judgment, it starts feeling lighter, and when you go into judgment, it starts feeling heavier. Now, there will also be a place where you're just embodying all energy, where nothing feels light or heavy any longer. You're just being the space of truth of all things. So it really depends on where your experience is in regards to that. Now, what I would just look at is, okay, does this does this lighten my heart? Does it make me feel excited? When I think about this possibility, does it just kind of light me up? And if you get that energetic shift of lightening you up or expanding your world or bringing you joy, well, that's what that choice is going to create in your world, is the expansion and joy. So you can begin maneuvering your life based on this energetic awareness and if you do that, it's like, what if you could receive 1 billion times greater than anything your cognitive mind could figure out or try to judge into existence?
Mm-hmm. Fascinating stuff. Yeah. I think that I'm guessing the nature behind the question may be they're looking for a specific feeling, and you're saying, well, that's not as necessary. Is that what you're saying?
Well, because the thing is, if they're looking for a feeling, they're trying to make it into light or heavy instead of just noticing what it actually is.
Ah, so in other words, they're getting in their own way by forcing it.
Yeah, well, you're trying to create an experience. So it's like if you've decided, I really want to go on a date with this person, and then you go, cool, is it light or heavy? You've already decided. So, and you're trying to make it light so it fits in with the decision you've already created or what you think you want. Now, that's a whole nother world. It's like if you look at the energy of wanting, the paradigm of wanting, it's like want actually means to lack. So everything that you want, you're not actually having it. And it's a place where reality has trained us out of the energy of having and into the energy of separation as if that was going to get us to having, which, have you noticed, it doesn't. So how about we do a little energetic clearing on that? So all the want energy in your guys' field, that's creating this eternal search and, trying to find and looking for and trying to overcome and become. And would you be willing to let go of that vibration so you can just embody the energy of having? 1, 2, and 3. Just let it go. It's a big one. You could work on that for a while. You could take that baby to the mountain.
Good, because they'll need more time as we're, kind of getting short on ours. But go ahead and... No, it's okay. We're having a lot of fun here, but, fun happens when you're burning the light, and the hour just seems to go so quickly.
I know. Well, the cool thing is it doesn't have to stop here. We also have a free gift on our site at adventureandoneness.com or rikazimmerman.com, and it's the 3 keys to loving you. And there's a nighttime audio, a meditation that will set this infinite love into your system all night long, and also some, wallpapers for your computer to continue reminding you of these 3 tools. You can do it as a screensaver, so you constantly are reminded to love and adore you.
Okay, now, Rekha, go ahead quickly and tell us what those 3 tools are, just very briefly.
Okay.
Just to remind everybody.
Well, the first piece is beginning to embark on having loving moments with you.
Okay.
So where you actually, when you wake up in the morning, you put your hands over your heart, and you start actually having a conversation with you that you would with somebody that you love. It's like, God, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being in my world. You are such a gift. I am so grateful for you. And the thing is, have you noticed, like when I'm bringing this up, it's like, how long has it been since you guys have had a conversation like this with you?
Mm-hmm.
And why not?
Exactly.
Right?
And then the second tool would be?
The second tool is beginning to expand out to embody the space of love or the space of oneness or the space of truth, whatever it is you'd like to call it. So if you kind of just close your eyes and expand your being out as big as the room you're in, and then as big as the city block you're in,
mm-hmm.
and now as big as the city. There you go, the state. Ooh, it's starting to happen, isn't it? And now the country. There you go. And universes and beyond. Now, this is a really great space to induce in you because you might notice that it's really hard to go into judgment or contraction when you're being the space of the universe. So this will assist your system in continuously choosing this expansive energy and beingness instead of getting stuck, because you actually have to contract yourself in order to judge. And the third tool is anytime you feel like you're about to go into a judgment of you or a judgment of others, just picture a stop sign, okay? And then choose something generative as you be with that energy and move that fixed energy out of your system so that it can no longer connect with you any longer. So you might induce a conversation like, wow, what a beautiful day, or how amazing is this, whatever it is. I used that tool for about a year and a half to undo, because I was just as stuck as everybody else, of using the stop sign and just going, you know what, I'm not going to judge myself here. And the other cute tool we have, not on the audio, is beep, 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 back away from the judgment.
Okay, and Rekha, we've got about 1 minute left, so go ahead with the final tool there and then your website again.
Oh, yeah, well, that was it. Being the space.
Okay, great.
Picturing the stop sign, yeah, and then having loving moments with you.
Sounds very good.
The audio download, the nighttime audio, is awesome, too. So you're going to want to pick that up. And it's just at adventureinoneness.com or rikazimmerman.com.
Very good. And I understand you're also involved in an event that's in the Northwest in Seattle, I believe. Seattle, Washington?
Yes, Writing the New Way of Consciousness. And it will be recording the Healing with the Masters Season 10 Jennifer McLean Telesummit, one of the biggest telesummits in the world. And it'll be downloading all this beautiful information. You guys will ask your questions. We'll vibrationally shift your world to embody, who you came here to be and to bring you home to you.
Fantastic. Well, Rekha Zimmerman, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program. What a lot of fun to torch the light here.
Aw, thank you, and thank you for having me, and thank you for being your being in the world.
You bet. Thank you again.
All right.
We also want to thank all you listeners out there for tuning in. You've been listening to the Beyond 50 radio show. Be sure to visit us at beyond50radio.com or the Beyond 50 blog spot. And also visit our YouTube channel, which is 50 Beyond as well. All those are the number 50. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you again for tuning in. This is the Beyond 50 radio program. And remember, live your day past halfway.